crafting journey here. That journey chick on Instagram. Check me out on Instagram. Anyway, how is everybody today? It's Wednesday, hump day, hump, hump, hump. Mike. Yeah. Today is an early day. Got to go into the office for real, and got to be there early because we're having training on a new program. Yay! I'm 61 years old. I don't need a new program. Oh my God. Something else for my brain to... Every time I put something new into my brain, something else leaks out. So I'm at risk of losing information today. Oh well. Now you know how old I am. Trevor thinks I'm 42. God love him. Anyway. Let's get out our journal, our planner. I've noticed some people have bought this. This is the Dashboard Happy Planner. A lot of us got it on sale recently, 40% off. I love it. I started out with a different type of planner, a vertical, and I really like this much better. But don't buy it at full price. Never buy it at full price. No. Okay. Okay. And how is the no buy going? Wonderful. But man, I was shopping last night. I was putting stuff in my cart. I'm like, I gotta buy something. Because, you know, I'm looking at you know, commissions that I'm going to be getting. And I'm like, I need to get another diamond painting. I don't need another diamond painting, but it does help the channel. And, you know, what was I looking at? Oh, you know what I put in my cart? Cross stitch, dyed fabric. Yes. I don't know if I'm going to actually purchase it, but you know, just that feeling of shopping was satisfying. I didn't purchase anything, but I was shopping. That'll be the next thing, a no shopping thing. So let's check off Tuesday. Okay. No buying. Okay. Today is National Burnt Ends Day. And you're going to go, what is that? You'll find out. Okay. And also, I got to write this down. Okay. We got that going. What kind of mood are we in today? You should ask me this at the end of the day, because when I wake up in the morning, I'm in a pretty good mood. Yeah. Oh, here, we're just yawning here. Let's just wake up. We're yawning. We had to get up early. Well, you know, me, I always get up early. I have, this is like the second or third night of me locking the kittens out, and it seems to be working quite well. They're not happy about it. When I open that door in the morning, they are right there at the door. Like, Mom, you locked us out. Oh, Wednesday is such a busy day. Yes, you know why? Because tonight I'm going to work on that darn hat. I worked on it yesterday for a while. The body of the hat's done. This is the brim. Now I'm working on the crown. I'm reducing it. I've already taken out this many pegs. This is the beauty of a flexi loom. As you're reducing, you can actually remove the pegs. How cool is that? So I have, what, 6, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. I've got about 5 rows left. So this will be on Craft With Me Wednesday tonight. This beautiful bubblegum yarn. I call it bubblegum because it reminds me of bubblegum. And it's really beautiful. You know how much I love pink. So we're going to work on this darn hat tonight. I'm not so sure how this crown is going to look. But you know what? At this point, I'm like, whatever, right? It's going to be what it's going to be. And I'm going to be so proud of this hat, mistakes and all, because I put so much love and effort into it, and angst. Let's not forget the angst. It'll be one of my most valued hats. I can tell you that. And I will not be selling it because I will treasure this thing. You know, it was a lot of hard work. So we're getting to the end. Yes. I worked on some cross stitch yesterday. I couldn't find a jar, so actually I started an Ort jar for cross stitch. It has a few threads in here. You can't see it because it's only a few. This is actually a little cup that I got at the old spaghetti factory. From Malia got it. It had like some signature drink in it that she liked. 50th anniversary, 1969 to 2019. I love this restaurant, the old spaghetti factory. I have to take my sister there. It's pretty cool. So my little version of the Ort jar, because I don't cross stitch a lot. I wish I could cross stitch more, but you know, time is a factor. Okay. Are we done? What else? Oh my God. I gotta write this down. Last night, I started watching it's a limited series on Netflix, and it's called Clickbait. Clickbait. And look, I'm just watching Stitch. What is he doing? Crazy cat. Clickbait. Oh my God. Fantastic show. I only watched episode 1 because I haven't finished Hit and Run. I mean, both fantastic shows. So I watched the first episode of Clickbait, and I was like, my sister came in. I have 5 minutes left. My sister knocks on my door, and I'm like, oh no, I have 5 minutes left. This is great, this show. So she goes in her room and watches it. She's like, oh my God, you're right. It's fantastic. I don't want to give anything away, but the main character of I don't know if there is a main character. So from what I can surmise, each episode is about a different person in the story. So the first episode is about the sister of this gentleman, this man who is kidnapped, and he appears on the internet, and they say that when he gets to 5 million views, they're going to kill him. So, and I think the second episode is about the detective in the story. So if you get a chance on Netflix to check this show out, let me know what you think, because oh my God, I was like, oh yeah. So, and you're like, well, why did you binge watch it? Because I gotta go to work today. I had to get some sleep. Yeah, so Clickbait, episode 1. Yeah, because I was looking around like, what can I watch? What can I watch? And I think this just went live on Netflix. So yeah, you gotta check it out. Oh, what did we have for dinner last night? We ordered chicken wings. Oh my God, my favorite dinner ever. I love chicken wings. What is your favorite flavor? I order from Wingstop. I don't like the boneless. I like the bone-in. I mean, a boneless chicken wing? What the heck? Anyway, I get mild. I'm not really a hot sauce person. And I get, yesterday I got some Hawaiian, and I found they were like a bit too sweet. Oh dear, Stitch, really? Hello? You're going to ruin my chair, buddy. Hello? Come here. Come here. You want to see Mommy? Come on. Say, hey, Mommy. Hi, Mommy. I was like, I'm just in a mood. In a mood. Okay, go. Go, go, go. Stop climbing on my chair. Okay, where was I? Oh, so, yeah, chicken wings. And then I like to have them with fresh carrots and blue cheese dressing. Oh. So, that's my story. Okay, now, what national day is it? Burnt Ends Day. You're like, what is that? Well, let's start some diamond painting, shall we? Let's turn on the light. So something I've noticed right off the bat, and I hope that Craftably fix this in their next diamond paintings, but you know, I rolled up the top of this diamond painting, and both schematics are at the top. That does not help me. You know, sometimes I do like to refer to the schematic, and really one should ideally be at the bottom and the other one should be at the top. These are both at the top. Now, I do have a more recent Craftably, and I could get it out to see if they've changed that, but it's in the dinosaur tube over there. Yeah, and that's for another day. Just you know, something that I noticed. The other thing that I noticed, and one of my subscribers also pointed it out, is that they have two X symbols, which can be confusing, but if you look closely at the X's, one is black and one is white. So I've got to make sure when I do the X's that I'm doing the correct X and don't get confused. Yeah, I know, don't you love it? But you know what? Like I said, this was one of their first paintings, so I'm sure they've learned a lot since then. Okay, so we're gonna do these. I worked on it a bit yesterday. I don't know if you can see. Yeah, I did quite a bit yesterday. Trevor was live, so Trevor and Shalene's, Trevor is Kiss My Stained Glass, and Shalene's Creativity Room. They were both live, so I was kind of going back and forth, because they're my buddies. Alrighty. There, I put down some drills. Okay, what the heck is Burnt Ends Day? You're like, Rebecca, get back to the National Day. Yes, so this was a day to recognize Kansas City barbecue. I live about 2 hours away from Kansas City, but I've never been there for the barbecue. Actually, I've never been there. I met Crashly outside of Kansas City for the kitten exchange, because she lives a little bit on the other side of Kansas City in Missouri. But the burnt ends are the ends of a brisket, so they have to cook the brisket for a length of time to get it tender. And what that ends up happening is the ends get a little burned and crispy. So what they've discovered is that people love the ends of these brisket. They love burnt ends. I think I would enjoy it. I always like the crispy crunch of a well done barbecue is the only way I can describe it. They can come in different flavors, and the way you celebrate this day is that you here's my challenge. Go to as many barbecue places as you can and find burnt tips, burnt ends, burnt tips. I wouldn't eat a whole serving of them. I think it's best if they're mixed in with the other barbecue. And I could be wrong about that. I mean, I'm not a barbecue connoisseur. Do they eat just burnt ends, like a whole plate of burnt ends? I don't know. I would probably enjoy that. Strange National Day, but guess let's celebrate. I don't think we're going to be having barbecue in this house tonight, or any burnt ends. But if I ever get a chance, the next time I go to a barbecue place, I'm going to ask them, do you have burnt ends? Because I don't know that I've ever had any. They used to be like what you would call the trimmings or the leftovers, but now people love them. So, and that's all I have to say about the Burnt Ends Day. Yes. Is that all there was of this symbol? Oh no, there's a few more. There's a few more. I used to be so careful with the squares. Now I'm using the multi-placer. I'm like, just get it done. They straighten themselves out as you put more in. You know, the more you place, the more they get straight. Now I still do try to carefully place them, but I don't mind doing a multi-placer. Not at all. Because this is one big old painting. If I don't multi-place it, I'll never get it done. I need new wax in my pen. All right, We're going to do judge, jury, and journey. Yes, judge, jury, and what my hook is sitting here. I don't want to lose it because I need that tonight. All right, let's find my notes. So yesterday at this trial, this is the trial of Stanley Ford. Now, Stanley has not shown, this is just day 2. I will start out by saying that I did not get the entire day. I got all but 1 or 2 witnesses at the end of the day. So I will cover those for you tomorrow. But the day 2 was pretty interesting. We had, I'm going to turn this light pad off so you guys can see what I'm diamond painting. So we had a woman who, a 75-year-old woman who couldn't remember anything, and we had a 56-year-old man who had an anger issue, so and barely escaped without a contempt of court charge. So interesting day. You know, when you have a trial like this, it really fuels a lot of emotion. You know, there were 9 deaths in this trial. You know, these were people's loved ones, family, friends, and there's a lot of emotion that attaches to it. So I am not surprised. So just a little bit about the courtroom. This is it's like a very narrow courtroom. So they're not showing us. Some of the witnesses they're not showing us, and I am assuming that they asked not to be on camera. Some of the first witnesses, there was a witness that did appear on camera. So I can only surmise that they're asking these people, do they want to appear on camera? And they're either saying yes or no. So I don't know where the jury is in this room, but it either off to one side or towards the back of the courtroom. I'm not sure. And then all of the attorneys are kind of scrunched up at these 2 tables towards the front. It's a very weird layout. And not very COVID prevention inducing, because they're all kind of scrunched into this room. And then they've got all these exhibits, and yeah. It's interesting. And then they've got duplicates of the exhibits because they have to have some near the witness and some that the jury can see. And it's a very, very weird layout. So the first witness of the day is Tiffany Gary. Now she apparently opted not to be on camera. She lives in this neighborhood, and she works as a caretaker of children in her home. And she actually lives like down the street from the first fire. We're only talking about the first fire right now. So she lives down the street from the first fire that happened in April of 2016. She had just gone to sleep when she heard a series of loud booms. She noticed that, you know, everything was very bright in her window, and she's like, you know, wait a minute, it's not daylight. You know, she hears these booms. She gets out of her bed. She runs down the street. I don't know if I hope she put some clothes on, but yeah. So she gets out of bed. She runs down the street. She's got her cell phone. She's filming. She saw some people sitting on the porch. You know, they're watching, and she sees this house that's engulfed in flames. You know, she sees a man. She can't get too close to the house because she said it was just too hot. I mean, it was a super hot fire. I mean, this house was completely engulfed in flames. As she gets as close as she can, she's probably about 50 to 100 feet away. She sees a man coming out of the basement which we'll later learn is the man that lived in the basement, Thomas Hughley. He comes out of the basement and then comes out into the street. As he's coming out of the basement, he's looking up, and shingles are falling, and and so when he looks up, she looks up, her gaze goes up, and she sees Lindell Lewis out the window. And she says she could only see his upper chest, from his upper chest up. Now, Thomas is yelling at him to jump, and he's saying, I can't get out this window. I can't do it. And we later learned that he had recently had hip surgery, that he was using a walker. So he was disabled. He could not get out this window. Ms. Gary was screaming, somebody get a ladder. People are calling 911. The firemen pull up. The fire truck pulls up. She runs up to them. She's like, there's a man up there. She said at some point, black smoke started shooting out the window, and she could no longer see Lindell Lewis. Now, the guy that was coming out of the basement, Thomas Hughley, she called him the grass man. She didn't know what his name was. She's like, he's the grass man. And apparently he got his name as the grass man because he was kind of an old drunk. He would go around, and that's how he made money. He would go around to the neighbors and say, hey, got any lawn work that I can do? And so he would go around the neighborhood doing people's grass. So she didn't know his name, so she just said, hey, there's the grass man. So, but she did identify him as Thomas Hughley. So she did, she said she often walked the neighborhood, and she did notice that Lindell Lewis, the man who perished in the fire, and the defendant, Stanley Ford, often had disagreements. She recalled one time where they were arguing, and she pulled up in her car, and she actually pulled between them and told them, to grow up and go their separate ways and stop this nonsense. She did testify that she never heard the defendant, Stanley Ford, threaten Lindell Lewis, and that he never left his yard. They would argue from their separate, they never approached each other. They would just argue from separate places, their yards. It's very weird. Then the next witness is Rebecca Wright. She is a 75-year-old woman. She's also a neighbor. She had the opinion that Mr. Lindell Lewis's house was being used for people who came out of prison, like a halfway house. Now, I don't know how she said that people lived there, that they were coming out of jail to reform. Yeah, I don't know about that, but we later learned that this woman's memory is not so good. She has lived in this neighborhood for 40 years, her and her husband. She did testify that Mr. Ford was often aggravated by Lindell Lewis. The night of the fire, she was sound asleep. Her and her husband, they heard fire engines, and that's what woke them up. She went outside. She saw Mr. Hughley, the guy that lived in the basement, the grass man, coming out, into the street. He had no shoes on, no socks. He was cold, so her husband went and got him a lawn chair to sit down in. She went and got him some socks and a blanket. Really, really sweet lady. She still lived there when the second fire occurred, but that was a little bit farther away, and she did not know these people. Now, she was asked to identify, when oftentimes during a court proceeding, the attorneys will say, do you see the defendant here? Do you see Stanley Ford here in the courtroom today? And can you point him out? And they'll say, oh, that's him sitting over there. And they'll say, what is he wearing? And they'll say, oh, he's got on a striped shirt and dreadlocks, which is what he had on yesterday. Stanley Ford had on a striped shirt, and he has these dreadlocks that are like about the length of my hair. Oh, God, I need a haircut. Look, that's not even. Oh, goodness. All right, forget that. So they asked, the attorney asked her, can you, do you see Stanley Ford in the courtroom today? And she's like, yeah, I do. And so he says, well, can you point him out? So Stanley Ford's over here. So she's pointing over here. And he's like, you're pointing over there. Who are you? And she's like, that man there, the bald man over there. That's him. Are you sure? Oh, yeah. And then she kind of pauses, and she's like, yeah, I remember him being bald. That's him. Because I've seen it, because there was another trial that she testified into, the one that ended up in a mistrial. She's like, yeah, that's him. I remember him from the last trial. The person she was pointing at was an attorney, one of the prosecutors. So, poor thing. She didn't point out Stanley. I thought that was hilarious. And then another point, she was being asked a question, and she answered it, and she looked at the attorney, and she was like, did I get that right? And he's like, it was all he could do not to laugh. He's like, well, that's for you to decide whether it's right or not. It's your memory, but bless her heart. She was just trying to please the prosecutor. She was a cute little old lady. Although we didn't see her, she also opted not to appear on camera. Then the next witness was Geraldine Lewis. This was the sister of Lindell Lewis. She testified that he did construction work until he retired. He had just recently, a month before the fire, had a second hip surgery. That he didn't drink, and then, every now and then they would have barbecues at his house. She never saw him drinking. They would have these barbecues. She would go over there. There wouldn't be a lot of people, just, 5, 6 people. And she does recall one time that Stanley Ford came out into his yard and yelled over that they needed to stop what they were doing. He asked them to leave, and they're like looking at him like, it's a barbecue, or what's wrong with a barbecue? Anyway, but interestingly, she says, I can't say that man was Stanley Ford. I don't recall. So she was being honest. So then we get this very interesting witness named Terence Sibley. All right, let me get some more drills here. What other one do I need? This one. 823. That is a good choice. So, this guy's name is Terrence Sibley. Now, he also worked construction. That's how he met Lindell Lewis. And he said he also met Lindell's brother, who worked at the same construction site. Or construction company. It was the Lewis brothers. This was their company. It was a family-owned company. But so he worked for many years with both of them, and he said that the one brother was more of a friend, coworker, somebody he could go to if he had questions about construction. But that Lindell Lewis became more of a mentor. He knew him more personally. Now, this Terence Sibley admitted to years of drug problems. He admitted that at one point he was on probation. He didn't like the probation officer, so he stopped going. So that apparently there was a warrant out for his arrest. He finally had to turn himself in, and he ended up going to prison. But before he went to prison, Lindell Lewis, the man that perished in the fire, had asked him to come over and install cameras in his house. So he did. He went over, he said, the man asked me to put in 4 cameras and point them all in one direction towards Stanley Ford's house. And he says, who am I to argue, he didn't know it was Stanley Ford's house. He just knew that it was in one direction. So, and he said the guy he was using his walker, and, he would direct everything that was going on, because apparently at the same point there had been some window damage and some structure damage. We don't know how that occurred, but there were people there repairing that. So there was a lot going on at this point. So he says he was installing the first camera in the back, and a gentleman pulls up into the driveway, gets out of his vehicle, and they start arguing, him and Lindell Lewis. And then Mr. Sibley identifies that man as Stanley Ford. So then there became this back and forth with the attorneys. They were discussing the issue of whether drug users were coming in and out of the house. Apparently in a prior proceeding, maybe at the first trial or during a hearing or a deposition, this Terence Sibley had testified that, being a former drug user, he could recognize drug users, and that, that there were some of these, there were 2 men that lived in the basement, and unrelated to Lindell Lewis, and that there were people that would go in and out of this basement, including one particular woman who was a streetwalker. Now, the attorney's like, well, what was she doing walking the streets? And Terence like, I don't know. I wasn't holding her hand. I don't know what she was doing. I mean, I know what he was trying to get at. Everybody knew what he was trying to get at, but Terence was not going to say it. So they're going back and forth, and like, didn't you previously say? And then the attorney starts to ask him the same questions, like, over and over again. And you could see that Terence was getting visibly upset. So now he's like, he's like this in his chair, which we know that kind of body language is, he's trying to hold himself in. So he's like, so when the attorney asked him the question, he's like, we had this conversation. And the attorney asked him again, we had this conversation. So the judge is like, you have to answer the question. No, we had this conversation. So then they start bickering, and the judge is trying to stop them, and there's objections going on, and Terence is like looking like this at the lawyer. The judge is over here, and the judge is like, look at me, sir. She was pissed. She's like, you will answer these questions and you will calm down. And then she has a sidebar. She gets all the attorneys up at the sidebar. Now, I don't know what they were discussing, probably how to get this man off the stand before she threw him in jail. Because it happened like twice that she had to tell him, look at me, calm down. And finally, on rebuttal, the prosecutor gets back up and he says, you were very close to this man. Yes, you appear to be very angry. He says, yes, I'm very angry. He was a mentor to you, so you're really upset. And then he pointed out that 2 people in this man's life had recently been murdered. Well, one had been murdered and the other one had been shot. Close relatives. So, he was not in a good frame of mind. And the prosecutor was trying to point that out, trying to humanize him to the jury. But several times the judge would have to say, disregard whatever he's saying, because this guy was like very argumentative, very, very argumentative. It was pretty interesting. And then at one point he's like, man, is this a joke? Is this a joke? I'm like, oh my God. So then the other, we get a couple of 911 dispatchers and we hear the 911 calls from the first fire. We're still on the first fire. And they all pretty much say the same thing. Hey, there's a fire at such and such. And they're, after they get the initial address, they tell the subsequent callers, yes, we know. But there were a lot of 911 calls because, this was a big deal. Then what else? Yeah, I think that's where it ended for me. I will cover the rest tonight. I'll catch up on yesterday, watch as much as I can today. Today is a very busy day, so we may be running a day behind in this trial. I will try to watch as much as I can tonight after the live, but we'll see. We are planning Sunday during my Sunday live to do a wrap-up of the 90-day step challenge. It ended yesterday. Thank you everyone who participated. So we're going to wrap this up Sunday. All of the team leaders will be in my live during the 12 o'clock hour. And I look forward to that. Oh my God, all my girls. Tia's Crazy Craft Addictions, DP Addiction Adventures, Crafts with Crashly, and Crystal's Crafty Creations. Those were my 4 team captains. So I look forward to that. Anyway, oh yes, I have to go to work. Got to go to work. But what happened this day in history? Let's talk about it. In 1910, a bomb went off in the LA Times building, destroyed the building, and killed 21 people, injuring many, many others. The publisher of the LA Times was very anti-union and very vocal about it in the paper. So he hires his own private investigator, a very good one, to figure out who did this. And he narrows it down to these 2 brothers that worked for the Bridge and Structural Iron Workers Union. So he narrows it down to these 2 brothers. He actually goes himself, takes these 2 brothers in custody himself, like a citizen's arrest, brings them to California for prosecution. So the unions hire Clarence Darrow, who's a very famous defense attorney. He hesitated. He didn't really want to take the case, but they offered him $50,000. So he hesitantly took the case. So during this trial, bribes are going on everywhere. The prosecution's bribing the jury, the defense is bribing the jury, not Clarence Darrow, but his team bribing the jury. And what ends up happening is Clarence Darrow arranges a plea deal so that the brothers avoided the death penalty and just would spend the rest of their life in jail. So they took that plea deal. Now, what happens then is the publisher arranges for Clarence Darrow to be charged with bribery. At that point, the unions that hired him for the brothers refused to pay him the $50,000 and refused to assist in his defense. So he ends up hiring this old drunk attorney is very gritty and does actually a fantastic job. He actually gets him a mistrial on the first case, and then on the retrial gets him an acquittal. So he is acquitted of all charges, Clarence Darrow, and Clarence Darrow goes on to defend some very, very famous cases. So that is this day in history. The story of the LA Times bombing. I never even heard of this in 1910. Wow. And the brothers were the McNamara brothers, just so I don't miss any of the characters here. Okay, guys, I hope you have a fantastic day. I will see you tonight in Craft With Me Wednesday, 6 p.m. Central Time, where we are going to work on that darn hat. Yes, loom knitting. But you don't have to be a loom knitter to come to the live. Just come to the live and let's chit-chat. Yes. I'll be working on it. It's not a tutorial because I'm not this. No, no. It's just me doing a hat. So come watch. I love you all and have a great day. See you tonight.